Welcome to this tutorial on Flower Power. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a design similar to the one shown on your screen at the moment. If you have a look, there it is. Now, it's a very basic design, might not blow you away, but the purpose of this tutorial is to teach you a little bit about the properties of the Polygon tool. It's a very cool tool, and when you start to explore it a little bit more after this tutorial, you'll realize that there are amazing things that you can create using it. So I'm just going to delete all of these flowers there, and we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to select my Polygon tool there, and I'm just going to make sure on my property bar that I'm starting with number of sides 6. Next, I'm going to hold down the Control key and draw a fairly large polygon in the middle of my page. I'm holding down the Control key so that all of my sides are equilateral. Now, before I deselect, I'm just going to press P on my keyboard, and it's going to center it to the page nice and neatly for us to work. So I'm going to go to my Pick tool now and just explain a little bit about this polygon. Now, if we look at the polygon, we can see that it has sides, and it has middle nodes to those sides, and it has corners or points. So because it's a hexagon at the moment, there are 6 of each of these things. When we alter any side or point on a polygon, each corresponding point or side alters. So that sounds a little bit scientific and complicated, but let me demonstrate what that actually translates to. I'm going to grab my Shape tool to access my nodes, and all of a sudden you'll see that my nodes are accessible to me. Watch what happens when I move this middle node here. Watch what happens to all corresponding nodes. You guessed it, they all move in the same direction, same distance, allowing me to create these pretty funky shapes, and I urge you to play around with this tool and see what you can come up with. The possibilities are endless. For our particular design, we don't actually need that node, so I'm just going to double click it to remove it, and you'll see all subsequent nodes also delete. So I have to be able to curve this line here so that I can create a petal. And by doing that, petals will be created on all of the other sides. So can you see how much of a time saver this is going to be if you can figure out a few more advanced techniques in order to use this tool? So I'm just going to right click on that line and say to curve, and it will make that line curvable. So I'm going to click and drag to pull my petal out. Now before I let go, I actually want to move these arrow points further away from each other to give me more of a rounded petal, not such a pointed petal. So I'm just going to do that now. And you'll see I've just clicked, and this happens very often because it's quite finicky, and you need to be quite precise. My arrows have disappeared. Now at this point, don't panic. If your arrows disappear, select one of the nodes and they will reappear. You actually have to drag the arrow head, so this is a little bit tricky, but don't be put off. Persevere. There we go. So I've created the petal there, and all subsequent sides have given me a petal, and it's that easy. So what I want to do now is I actually want to create 2 duplicates of this flower inside of each other. Now that sounds also very complicated. It really isn't. So I'm not going to color my flower now so that you can see how this is going to work. So I'm just going to click on my flower, and I'm going to use the corner control node to resize the flower. The reason I want to do that is that it will resize this in proportion. It's not going to stretch or flatten the flower, and you can see it is doing that as I drag this corner in and out. Now I want this flower to be in the middle of my original, so I'm actually going to hold down Shift on my keyboard as I'm doing this, and watch what happens. Instead of shrinking down to the bottom left, it will shrink down to the center just by holding Shift on the keyboard. So I'm going to drag it in, and before I release the mouse, I'm going to click my right click on the mouse. Watch my cursor. Can you see how it changes? So I'm going to press right click again, and you'll see it changes back and forth. I want it to display that plus sign. Once I've done that, I'm going to let go and you'll see that it will give me a duplicate in the middle. So we're going to do that once more because I know it sounds a little bit complicated. So we're going to grab this shape because we're going to put a shape in the middle of that. So I'm going to drag it from the top corner down so it's in proportion. I'm going to hold down Shift so that it goes towards the middle of my flower. Before I let go of any of the keys, I'm going to right click and then let go. And you'll see that I get this lovely duplicate shape inside of each other in proportion. Now what I can do is I can color in my flower. So I'm going to color that in pink, I'm going to color that in blue, and I'm going to color that in pink again to give me this hypnotic look to my flower. I'm then going to use my ellipse tool, just holding Control again to draw the center of my flower, which I'm then going to color in yellow. Now you'll notice that all of these shapes have outlines on, and that is not appealing. So I'm just going to click on each shape individually, go up to my property bar here, and say none. So up to the property bar, none, up to the property bar, none, and up to the property bar, none. Now, a lot of users will be saying that there's such an easier way to remove all those outlines, and yes, there is, but as a beginner, I just want to show you the most accessible way of doing that. And there you have it. You have this wonderful flower power symbol. So I'm going to drag over all my objects, right click, and group them. You can press Ctrl G as a shortcut, but it's there in the right click if you need it. So I'm just going to resize it. And now what I want to do is I want to duplicate these flowers all over my page or all over my design. This is another nifty little shortcut hidden within CorelDraw. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag so that I get this preview of where the flowers are going to be. And wherever I want a flower, I'm going to quickly tap the spacebar. So I'm just going to tap the spacebar very quickly there. Move it, tap the spacebar very quickly. And I'm going to get my flower power shapes all over the place. And you'll notice this is very different from my original design. But you get the idea that the combinations are endless when dealing with flower power and the Polygon tool within CorelDraw. I hope you really enjoyed that tutorial.